So for our next video, I have already integrated a POC. And in this, we're gonna first start by linking my Laravel app so that I can run and test it in the browser. And if I go over here to the test, let's also fix this as well. And I'm going to do hard secure to get an HTTPS connection. And I think we're good to go now. Okay, now we have our login button. So our first task will be we are going to get our Keycloak server up and running. We will do references up. This will take a bit of time as I'm building it again. If you are following me from the previous videos, you can directly jump by using PHP artisan or Compose app. You don't need to build. And then we can go to the browser and type localhost 8080 and we should be able to see this. And as you saw in our previous video, we have specified our user name and password, and then you can use that name and password to log in. And over here, we are going to create. Oh, our server is up, and now we are going to create a new realm. Let's name it demo. Basically, realm represents our application, and most of you who are working with Keycloak will already be familiar with the term realm, client, scope, roles, and authentication, identity providers. So these are the basic major terms. And there are basically two types of clients. One is a public client, and another one is a confidential client. Difference between them is when you are trying to connect to a confidential client, you will need client ID and client secret. But when you are trying to connect to a public client, you will only need a username and a password to connect. So for simplicity, yes, I will name this as well confidential CLINT. Awesome. Client, and same goes for the name as well. And I will enable the authentication because I am going to use the OIDC format, and I will require the implicit as well. And in some cases, I might use auth 2.0 as well. So let's hit enter. And right now, as you can see, my base URL is https. Yes, and my home URL is basically star because I don't know what I'm going to use it for. And same is for the value URL. So basically, this URL represents where after authentication, this keycloak will redirect to. Let's say this application is trying to authenticate. After authentication, on which redirect URL it will redirect at this to. Okay, and hit save. Base URL is not a valid URL. Okay, let's leave home URL as it is. And boom, now we have our client created. Next thing we will need is client secret. So go to the tab of credentials and copy the client secret. Come back to the application and go to your env. So these are the three basic envs that you will require in order to work with Keycloak. And after installing the package, first thing you need to do is put these envs in place, and then we will have to create another key for the Keycloak where you're going to append a space URL, client ID, client secret, rel. These all values are going to come from your env and redirect. So basically, at time of authentication, I will show you how this authentication works. I have two methods in my controller, SSO controller. Okay, that's down. In first controller, I am redirecting my user from a Laravel app to Keycloak. And in the second method, Keycloak is redirecting my user to a particular endpoint so that I can authenticate which user is that. So to do that, I have to send a redirect URL with my request. So for that, you need to create a redirect URL so that this whole authentication process works. Now, the major thing that you need to do is you need to move to the event service provider, and you will have to add this listeners, and you can get this code from the official documentation. So this was the package that I installed, and these are the configurations that I added to my service file as well as the envs, and this is a listener which you need to add. And one more thing that is not mentioned in this particular doc, you also need to add a provider. So wait for a minute. Oh, that one is from, sorry, the PHP. So this is the basic provider. You basically need to register the service provider, and social provider manage service provider. Okay, this thing is not mentioned in this doc, but it is necessary to get this up and working. And now I think our whole configuration is completed. Now if we click on login with SSO, now you see like we have been redirected to our Keycloak setup, but right now you can see I only have a login form. So let's enable a register form as well so that we can test our things out. Go to register, go to login, and enable the user registration. Now, if I go to my website, come from here again, now I have a register form as well. So let's start by putting values first. And username can be anything. I'm using this dummy as password. Okay, I think my password is a bit different. I will put like capital over here and register. Now, as you can see, I have been redirected to my application on that particular redirect endpoint that I specified. Okay, and now here you can see like I have been successfully authenticated by my Keycloak server, and now I can either enable my authentication system from my application as well, like the Laravel auth that we get by default, and we can identify the user by mail. If that user is present, then log in that user. If that user is not present, create a profile, basic profile of that user from the SSO values, and then later on you can carry on with your onboarding process if you have any. So this is the basic how the communication between Keycloak and Laravel works. Thank you for watching.